And go blue and welcome back, everybody. We got the Sparty preview coming up, and is JJ McCarthy the best quarterback ever at the University of Michigan? All coming up next on Michigan Wolverines Live. And welcome everybody in. It is Tuesday, October 17th, 2023. My name is John Diadamo, and I'm going to take you through the next hour or so of exciting content here at the Voice of College Football, Michigan Wolverines Live. And I also host a show called The Ocho, usually most Mondays, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, on the main Voice of College Football piece as well. So, without further ado, I only have one reminder before I bring in our special guest, and that is to please like, subscribe, and share with a friend. Because if everybody tells somebody about this, then we double, triple who's in here, and it's all great. And I'll also ask everybody to super chat if you have a comment or question that you want to have read on screen. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up our special guest today, Ryan Oblenis from Spartans Illustrated. Ryan, I know you've been running around and you've got a lot going on media-wise, so I appreciate you carving out a few minutes for us here on Michigan Wolverines Live.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on, John.
Absolutely. So why don't we dive right into it here? So Jim Harbaugh was talking about that this is going to be obviously a state championship game, tough matchup. They always say throw the book out when it's a rivalry. So with Michigan favored, obviously this is I believe it's the first time ever that this game has been held at Spartan Stadium under the lights at night. So walk me through kind of just that dynamic from your perspective.
I think it's a cool thing for the fans to experience. Like you said, this is the first time ever that Spartan Stadium's hosting this game under the lights. Unfortunately, it might not end up being a very competitive game. But as you mentioned, a lot of the times with this rivalry, you can throw things like records and stats out the window when it comes to this game. I really don't know if that'll be the case this year or not with the directions that these teams are going. But
right,
I still think it's a unique setting. It's still going to draw a big television audience. It's going to definitely be something that people are going to want to watch just because. As you mentioned, as Harbaugh said, it's like a state championship game. Michigan State interim head coach Harlan Barnett said it's the best rivalry in college football. So, there's always going to be an appetite for this game. It's a heated rivalry, and one way or the other, people are going to enjoy it. One fan base or the other. So we'll see.
Yeah, I anticipate that that emotions are going to be high, and in fact, you may actually see for the first time this season the starters kept in no matter what, because that is something they may want to do. We know I'm not saying anything you don't already know. There were some events that happened last year, and there's probably going to be some emotions based on that. So you may actually have like JJ McCarthy, Blake Corum, Will Johnson, and these players like asking to stay in the entire time. So could be interesting. So kind of going into the offense for you guys on that side of the ball. We know that there's been some quarterback changes. Noah Kim being the starting quarterback for decent chunk, and then Kattenhauser getting his opportunity to start. We saw that he went 18 for 29, 133 yards with 2 touchdowns. It's actually not bad. So what do you think he's going to have another opportunity? And what do you see in this offense now with him under center?
Yeah, Hauser's definitely going to start this game, as long as nothing weird happens with a practice injury or something like that. But yeah, so both Barnett and offensive coordinator Jay Johnson spoke today. They liked what they saw from Hauser in that game against Rutgers. Obviously, it wasn't anything spectacular. I think the big thing was that he didn't turn the football over, which was a big issue with Noah Kim. In the 3 games previously, and Hauser did have a couple of close calls against Rutgers. It was a wet, sloppy conditions. He fumbled at one point, recovered his own fumble, and then he almost threw a couple near interceptions, but on the stat sheet, he didn't turn the ball over, so that was good. He didn't throw for a lot of yards, as you mentioned, 133, but he was fairly efficient, fairly decent completion percentage. Maybe like to see a little more zip on some of his throws, but again, the conditions were not favorable to really throw the ball in that game. He also had a rushing touchdown. In addition to the 2 touchdowns he threw, he was moving the offense, really well for 3 quarters until everything kind of collapsed in the fourth quarter for the team. But overall, I think the Michigan State coaches, I think the players, around him support him. They were encouraged by what they saw from him. The thing with Hauser was always that he had sky high potential. He was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school, a big high school program out there in California at St. John Bosco. So talent with him has never been the issue. It's more about getting reps, getting experience, and getting into a rhythm. Obviously he wasn't going to be perfect in his first start, and I don't think people really had those kind of expectations for him. But at the same time, fans need to understand that it'll take patience. As he plays more, as he gets more into a rhythm, he starts to settle in. I think he can do some really good things. He has a really, really tough matchup this weekend against that Michigan defense. So we'll see how that goes. But overall, I think you can expect Hauser to start the rest of the year as long as he stays healthy. And Noah Kim's actually dealing with an injury too. That's not why he was benched. Hauser was going to start either way, but actually,
Right.
True freshman Sam Levitt would have been the backup quarterback. Had something happen to Hauser against Rutgers. That's what Barnett said after the game on Saturday, and Johnson kind of reiterated that today in his comments. So, that they're kind of monitoring Noah Kim. He's kind of day to day, but either way, Hauser's going to be starting.
So one question that kind of looking at this, and I heard that too about the injury, but that it wasn't going to impact anything either way. One thing is that Rutgers, I think, did a very good job of stopping the run for you guys, and I think that the pass game looked semi decent. You had the pass to Foster in the first drive. You had the pass to Trey Mosley. There were some good moments, but then on the kind of the run side, what do you think needs to happen? Maybe from a play calling perspective, or just different game planning to really get that run game going.
Yeah, I don't know if most fans really pay attention to Rutgers, but they actually have a really good defense and defensive front, and a
We
lot of
know.
yeah. Michigan's already played them, so they have a good defensive front. A lot of teams struggle to run the ball on them, but Nate Carter's had a really good year running the football. He's a UConn transfer. There were a lot of really good things said about him throughout spring ball and stuff like that. And he's really been as advertised for the most part, but Rutgers did do a good job of, shutting him down. Obviously, it's not all on the running back. You need the offensive line. You need the tight ends blocking. You need the receivers blocking on the outside. That's a big thing the Michigan State coaching staff kind of preaches, is that it takes all 11 to have a successful play, especially in the run game when everybody needs to be blocking. So that's one thing that the offensive line has really kind of struggled with this year, is consistency and run blocking. They've been pretty good in pass protection, but they need to do a better job in the run game and, on the outside with the tight ends and the receivers too. So, Jalen Berger, who was Michigan State's leading rusher last year, and he dealt with some injuries early on this year. But he was pretty active against Rutgers, and he had decent yard per carry and was able to get to the outside and get some chunk plays a couple times. So that there were some plays where they were able to hit at a decent rate, get some chunk yardage. But for the most part, Carter's still going to be that workhorse back for you. And like I said, it really all comes down to execution and the blocking, and being able to be more physical than the other team. And, that's something that should be really worrisome for Michigan State against that Michigan defensive front this week. It's something they have to emphasize.
Absolutely. And then obviously, Michigan has kind of been starting to put it together. Traditionally, Michigan's been thought of as a defensive team, right? And that has gone back decades. But obviously, with JJ under center, the defense is going to be a question for you guys, like how to contain a quarterback that can run, that can pass. That obviously you have some really good running backs. So from a defensive side, who should we be looking out for as playmakers?
Yeah, so Michigan State's going to rotate a lot of different guys along the defensive line. In the interior, Simeon Barrow is a guy who's really stepped up as a leader. And Derek Harmon, you might see next to him, or Maverick Hansen, or Jalen Sami, or all these different guys. And on the edges, you might see Zion Young, Tumishe Adelaide, and they might also kick inside at times on obvious passing downs. Avery Dunn, Brandon Wright, Chris Bogle. There's a lot of different guys that they throw around on that defensive line, but Michigan State's got to do a little bit better job of getting to the quarterback and getting pressure. They had a few sacks against Rutgers, and honestly, the defense played really well in that game for 3.5 quarters. Outside of that last drive where Rutgers was able to, or last two drives, I should say, but on that last drive, Rutgers was able to run the clock out, and there were still 7 minutes left on the clock. But against Iowa and against Rutgers, and even in the second half against Maryland, there were a lot of encouraging signs from the defense at the linebacker level. Jacoby Windman, who's a team leader, he's out for the year with an injury. So a true freshman who's really stepped up is Jordan Hall, 4-star kid. Already looked at pretty much as a team leader. He's the only 3-time captain in IMG Academy history in high school. Really great kid, really great family. Somebody who's really stepped up. And then, obviously Cal Halliday is a mainstay at the linebacker level, and, Aaron Brule. And you're going to see, a lot of these different guys rotate in and out there too. And of course, in the secondary, you got Dylan Tatum, Chance Rucker's another true freshman who's really been stepping up, especially Charles Brantley's been out with an injury, so he stepped into the starting lineup. He had his first career interception last week against Rutgers. And he probably still has to work on things like physicality and stuff like that, but overall he's been pretty solid to be getting thrown into games like that. The safeties are young but good, and Malik Spencer, he came out of that Rutgers game for a while with an injury, but he returned, and Jaden Mangum's the other one out back there. So yeah, there's a lot of names to watch out for, a lot of different guys that they're going to rotate in and out.
So definitely watch out for that. A lot of rotation, it sounds like. So I asked this of everybody, and that includes Rutgers Wire. I asked this of our Indiana guy last week. I ask it to everybody, and I think this is actually the most serious I've ever asked it. Is how does Michigan State win this game? I think it's definitely a more serious question than when I asked the Indiana guy. What do you think needs to be the case for that to happen?
Yeah, that's a tough one. On paper, this looks like a terrible matchup for Michigan State. But again, a lot of weird things have happened in this rivalry. You never know. I think they're really going to use that underdog mentality and chip on their shoulder to this game. And as you mentioned, we all know what happened last year. And, there's a lot of obviously built up animosity and things. And Michigan State, even though they've lost 4 games in a row, the really frustrating part is that they've been close, and that's what Harlan Barnett keeps preaching, is that, in a lot of those games, they beat themselves with turnovers, with untimely penalties, with, just miscues, and, even some poor coaching decisions, to be honest. But once they're able to put that together, like they outgained Iowa, they outgained Maryland, they had more first downs than Rutgers. They dominated 3 quarters against Rutgers. So it's just for them a matter of putting together 4 quarters. Obviously not turning the ball over, because that's obviously a killer. And the penalties have been an issue too, and they've had some unique ways to try to fix those, like having refs at practice and recording who was penalized, and then having them come up in team meetings and read the definition of a penalty before doing 10 push-ups in front of their teammates. So, they're trying to fix these problems, but
it's
it's not
tough when you have a
translating.
coaching transition, though. Like when you're dealing, the coach obviously had his problems, and now you've got an interim coach, and obviously that creates uncertainty and kind of a change in energy all around. So, I think
Yeah,
you
most
got to do
definitely.
what you can, really.
Yeah, and Harlan Barnett has done a really good job of kind of keeping the team together throughout this whole Mel Tucker saga. There's only been one kid who's entered the transfer portal. A couple other who are no longer with the team, but for the most part, everybody stayed. Everybody respects Barnett. Obviously, his in-game management and decision making, and the staffs and the play calling and stuff like that, need to upgrade. But as far as how you contain Michigan, that's just such a tall task with to throw Blake Corum at you in the run game, and then the things that
Yeah.
JJ McCarthy can do in the passing game, or even with his feet, or then hey, they got Donovan Edwards too, and Roman Wilson, and all these other guys, and so defensively, I think that Michigan's probably going to, as they do, try to run the ball. So I think Michigan State has to do the best that it can to neutralize that, but at the same time, then JJ McCarthy, you can't be letting him throw for a bunch of yardage either. So it's really,
Yeah.
this Michigan team to me has very few weaknesses, and it's just kind of pick your poison. So you have to limit them in one way or the other. So you focus on that, and then try to contain the other one as best you can. And offensively, I think Michigan State is going to need to lean on Nate Carter more this week, even though he's going up against an elite rushing defense and Jalen Berger. And I don't know if Jaron Mangum will be back this week. He's been out the whole season with an injury, but he's a bigger bruising back. So I think if they have more healthy backs and they're able to throw more at those guys and wear them down, they can't really put this game on Katon Houser's shoulders.
No.
He's earned this job, I think, now to start, given Kim's struggles. And by all accounts, Hauser was just as solid throughout training camp and spring ball and things like that. But they have to ease him in against a team like Michigan. So they're going to have to lean on that running game, even if it's going to be tough sledding. They're going to need to somehow open up short throws and, get Hauser comfortable, get him into a rhythm with quick passes and screens and things like that. Get his confidence up, then take your shot.
And I will say that the articles that you wrote about Harlan Barnett and also Jay Johnson and what they talked about, it was very coach speak when they talked about Michigan. They did the right thing. They just said it's a great challenge, it's a great opportunity, and Harbaugh's doing the same thing on the Michigan side. It's a state championship, tough matchup. Nobody's trying to give the other side any bulletin board material here. So you were there. I mean, is that the general vibe? Is just no disrespect, like do everything possible to not have any disrespect.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan State, their whole coaching staff, even when Tucker was the head coach, coach speak was always kind of the thing there. So you got to take everything that's said with a grain of salt. But I mean, Johnson and Barnett were both very obviously respectful of what this Michigan team is. They praise how balanced they are, how disciplined they are. The different looks that they throw at you. Even Johnson was saying that even though a lot of the same core guys that Michigan had on defense last year when they played them are back, they're still going to do some different things and throw some different things at you. So they have to be prepared for that. But another thing that Johnson was asked about specifically was kind of that underdog mentality and chip on the shoulder thing. And he said that honestly, yeah, that can help drive the team, get them motivated. So I don't think, obviously Michigan's been very respectful too, but Michigan State doesn't need any more bulletin board material. Just the history of the rivalry and everything that they already have, all of that in their minds.
Neither team does.
Yeah, and so but Johnson also really praise, and something Barnett's done too, is really just kind of praise how resilient these guys are on the team, because obviously none of them asked for this. None of them asked for their head coach to be fired under these circumstances.
Of course not.
And the staff that's left is just trying to do the best job that they can to get these guys through the season. Like I said, they've been close, but they don't know how to win these Big Ten games yet. And that's something that they have to figure out as a staff, as a team, putting together a 4-quarter game and limiting the mistakes that have, really hurt them this year, that have cost them games, honestly.
Ryan, I'm going to put you on the spot. I said I was going to do this. So we always at the end do predictions. And I think at the very least, I'd like to get your take on how you think this game's going to go.
Yeah, I just don't see it going very well for Michigan State. Like I said, though, anything can happen in this rivalry. I think it will be a little more competitive than people think. If you remember back to last year's game, Michigan State played really well in that first half, and they really limited Michigan, forced a lot of field goals. They let them drive down the field a lot, but they didn't let them get into the end zone too often. But the offense wasn't able to muster much last year, and everybody talks about too how Michigan hasn't really been tested yet. They haven't played any top team, but to me, I don't think it matters who this Michigan team plays outside of maybe like Georgia, Ohio State. Like, not a lot of teams are going to be competitive with them. So basically, I'm predicting that something around a final score of Michigan 31, Michigan State 10, something, where Michigan kind of controls the clock, doesn't, not like an incredible blowout, but a very, steady win for them.
So we're not as far apart as I thought we'd be, because I've got it at 42-10. And the only reason that I think it's going to be 42-10 is because Michigan State will have a good enough defense to hold Michigan down, and they're going to keep their starters in the whole game to result in 42. I think that's probably what's going to happen. But and then of course we've got all the other ones rolling in from we've got everything from 45-0 to 38-7. All kinds of interesting predictions here.
Can't rule any of that out, to be honest.
I'm waiting for the Ohio State Buckeye troll to say Michigan State 45-7. I'm waiting for it. Hasn't happened yet, but every night, every time there's somebody.
I'd be very surprised, but you never know.
So Ryan, I really appreciate you coming by. Could you please tell everybody where they can find your work, where they can follow you on the internet?
Yeah, you can find our work at SpartansIllustrated.com or MichiganState.Rivals.com. You can find me on Twitter at Ryan Oblenis, RyanOblenes. You can find Spartans Illustrated on Twitter at Spartans Rivals.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, thanks for stopping by. I'm going to go ahead and move on to calls, but we'll definitely clip this and send it out to the universe. So we really appreciate you, Ryan, stopping by.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thanks, Ryan. All right. With that said, we thank Ryan for taking the time, of course, to be here. We're going to move on to calls now and really kind of keep talking through Michigan State and some other topics as well. We're starting out with Mike Fort is in the house. Mike, welcome back, man. Go Blue.
Go Blue, John. What's up?
Not much. So we just heard the Michigan State take on things, and I was actually surprised at how close our predictions were. I thought he would have it closer, at least.
You both had him going double digits on us, though.
Yeah.
Well, my reason
10.
reason for 45-0 is that Washington basically shut them out in East Lansing, with the exception of a garbage time touchdown at the very end of the game. And if you were to put me on a spot and say, is Michigan's defense better or is Washington's defense better, I would say Michigan.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. Although I hate to bring this up, but I need to see us against Penn State, and then I can really make that judgment call.
Well, I don't think we're going to hold Penn State to 10 points. I mean, mean, just compared to Washington, Oregon got 30+ points on Washington. So, you don't have to be a lights out defense, but Washington's defense is increased from last year, but it's still not top 20 in my opinion. But they basically shut out Michigan State. So that's my litmus test. Same reason why I said, Penix threw for almost 500 yards against these guys. So, I'm expecting JJ and not to get 500 yards, but pass it will, because Michigan State's secondary is horrible, and it's been horrible for a few years now.
What do you think about the idea of keeping the starters in the whole game?
It's kind of twofold. On one hand, I like the idea, because if there's any team you really want to run the score up on, it's Michigan State, given what happened last year.
Yeah.
Conversely, I don't want the starters to play too much because of last year. And, and I think it's mainly because, kind of a offshoot, in high school, my football team was terrible. And I mean, just fantastically terrible. And I went to a game on the road, it was like 10 minutes down the road from me. It was an away game for us, and we were down, I think it was like 45-0. I mean, pitiful. And one of the guys in the fourth quarter, he basically just said, well, we might as well win at something. And he took another guy's helmet off, ripped it off him, and just didn't beat him with the helmet, but he just started punching at him. It's like, I'm kind of worried that Michigan State might do something that's similar, because I've lost all respect for that team after last year. I mean, I think they've showed their mentality, and I'm worried that, they might get down 38-3 and just say, okay, well, we might as well just, put this into a big brawl. And I don't want the possibility of any, major key players for us being injured, because Michigan State just started, thug balling it.
Well, we have another caller, and I want to get Moose's perspective on this as well. Moose, welcome back to Michigan Wolverines Live. Go Blue.
Go Blue. What's up, guys?
Hey, what's up?
Yeah. Hey, we're just talking Michigan State, and what we think about keeping the starters in for a while, or because the way I see it, I think JJ and Blake, and especially some of the seniors, they're going to want to stay in as long as they can, and just impose their will. I think there's going to be that mentality. So it's going to be on the coaching to be like, okay, guys, time to go. Like, time to rest now. Like, unlike against Indiana, where nobody cared, this game they're not going to want to get out. So like, it's going to be on the coaching to be strong about benching them.
I don't know, guys. Usually I'm pretty hyped up for a rivalry game, when it's rivalry week or whatever. But I don't know, man. This year it just doesn't feel the same, does it? It just feels like this is going to be a blowout. It's not even going to be close. Like, I don't even see it being competitive.
Me either.
Well, I thought 2016 was going to be a blowout after trouble with the snap, and then they kept it much closer than we thought. And obviously we had the Jabril Peppers taking it the other way for 2 at the end, which was a little bit satisfying, but still much closer than I expected that year.
Well, John, this is I don't say this too often, but we've had some pretty good Michigan teams in the past, but I got to tell you, I think this is the best Michigan team I've ever seen, and I truly mean that.
Wow.
And I will say this, D'Antonio's worst team is much better than anything that's going to be on the field this Saturday.
That's fair. Yeah, they're in a bit of disarray at the moment.
Not just the talent that Michigan has on the field. They rotate so many guys. They're that good. Just their mind, just everything about Michigan this year, their talent, their mindset, everything is professional. When they get interviewed, it's everything they say is business. It's all business. Just another week, business. I just love Michigan's approach every week to every game. And I just think that I think this is a year, man. I really think they're going to break through this year.
I don't know if I really want starters in that much. I want to see the other guys kind of, get to feast, the ones that are kind of flying under the radar. I want to see Donovan Edwards. Like I said, Donovan Edwards has had a terrible season by his standards, especially when he set the bar so high against Ohio State last year. I want to see Donovan Edwards get at least 20 carries. I want I've been really impressed with the way Samaj Morgan's come into the game and looked. I want to see him, maybe get 5 or 6 catches. I want to see some of the player, a little bit more Barner. I want to see some of the people that are kind of flying under the radar get in there and make some significant gains and, get their name out. Because if it's just JJ and just Blake, we know how it's going to go. This is just
me and John been talking about Samaj Morgan and Keon Sabb. Those guys are all going to be studs, man. I see it already. They're all playing well right now. So,
oh yeah.
Kenneth Grant, obviously another one that's just absolutely lighting it up.
I called that a while ago. I was right on that one. Mason Graham too. He's really lighting it up too. Even Jenkins is contributing. So we got three defensive linemen that are like top in rating over everybody in the Big Ten. Like we have the best. I don't care what Penn State fans say. We have the best defensive line in the country. I don't care what anyone says.
Dependent Fanatic, Michigan is methodical. I like seeing 75 plus players playing every week. I like it too. It's very systematic. It's very like the Patriot way, but it's the Wolverine way. It's like you just plug in new people and keep the system going.
Well, I expect that to happen this time too. I mean, as much as the fan in me, especially after last year, wants them to go in there and play starters and just beat them by 60. I know that's not realistic, and like I said, there's always injury worries. So, I'm good for the way Harbaugh's been doing it. Just kind of let everybody have their turn at the table.
I like it too because he's like you said he's not overusing players. That's how Corbin got injured last year. That's how Donovan got injured and a bunch of other people. I love how they're rotating this year. They're rotating people out more. I love that, and that just shows you how deep Michigan is that we're able to do that and still be successful and still and still hold people at 6 points or less. That's pretty crazy.
I expect Ben Hall to get a few carries as well.
I agree. With Khalil out and with Donovan kind of being put more into a slot receiver almost, or like a receiver type threat. Ben Hall is starting to I predicted it. That I thought he was going to start breaking through around this point in the season, and here he comes.
Now, is CJ Stokes still injured?
Ben Hall's good.
CJ Stokes is last man up if everybody else is down.
Because I thought I thought Stokes was higher on the depth list than Hall, so I was kind of curious about him.
I think he's just above Dunlap anymore. I think it's Stokes and then Dunlap. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Dunlap. But with Gash no longer there, I think Stokes and Gash were at the bottom and Dunlap, and Stokes is who you put in if everyone else is out. And you have no other option, but you have to have a running back. He's not very good.
And honestly, I would rather put Mullings in over Stokes any day.
Well, yeah. I just want to see Mullings more in like the goal to go situations. I'm not a big Mullings fan between the 20s, even though he's had stretches, but he's like that bowling ball you put down whenever they just put 9 men in the box, go full goal line stance, and it's just will against will.
Absolutely. So
I was just never high on Stokes. I don't know why.
Because he fumbles a lot.
Yeah, fumbles.
Yeah, it's an easy one to tell you.
Look, he had to.
I'd actually take Dunlap. I take Dunlap over Stokes, to be honest, and I'm not high on him either.
Look, CJ Stokes had his opportunity in a very big moment at the Illinois game when Blake Corum went down. Donovan Edwards was injured. CJ Stokes had his opportunity to take that to take a higher level on the depth chart. If he had lit it up, then this would be a different conversation. But obviously we know what happened, right? Didn't go so well.
No.
So yeah, now he's kind of
down there.
Yep. Before we move on to our next topics, we do have a few announcements, of course. Get your Voice of College Football merch at the merch store, including Michigan football, the Voice of College Football merch. So we've got everything from T-shirts to pint glasses to coffee mugs. Show your pride for Michigan, Voice of College Football right here. We also have other team channels and, of course, the main channel with keychains and mugs and you name it. We've probably got it. So check it out, and let's definitely do that if you haven't gotten your merch already. We also have what's that?
I said, get your shop on, folks. Yeah, get those mugs and those shirts, man.
I've already got
there. It is.
I don't know that.
There it is. And then we do have our sponsor, Ticketsmarter.com. You can get your tickets at Ticketsmarter.com, BIG for $10 off a purchase of at least $100, or BIG 20 for $20 off. And when you're doing your shopping on Amazon, hit the Voice of College Football link. When you're doing that, get Mark Rogers a couple of bucks because it helps support the channel. So with that said, Jim Harbaugh made a statement, and he's been kind of making a lot of statements lately about JJ McCarthy, but this one was interesting because and this is a guy who knows a thing or two about Michigan quarterbacks, being one himself. That he is saying that JJ McCarthy could be the best quarterback at Michigan, not in the NFL, because we all know that Tom Brady, Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr., with 7 Super Bowls, is going to be the GOAT in terms of all of football. But he at Michigan, JJ McCarthy, best quarterback. What's your take on that?
Can you argue with that? I don't think you can.
Actually,
I think you're right.
I think I could argue with that. I mean, if you remember the old basketball joke, the only man that could hold Michael Jordan under 20 points was Dean Smith. Well, the thing is that Brady was a better quarterback than Henson in every facet you could think of, except maybe athleticism. And because, Brady had to struggle even as an upperclassman to get on the field over, Drew Henson. He was a very good quarterback. And a lot of times Brady would have to dig out of holes that Drew Henson put up. And I can remember, we were down 17 points to Michigan State, back when in the Plaxico Burress years. And, he dug us out of that hole. He dug us out of the hole in the Orange Bowl against Alabama. I mean, I think for his time on the field, Brady was probably the best quarterback we ever had, to be honest. He just didn't get as much recognition, and he didn't get the playing time because he was constantly put up against Drew Henson.
With all due respect, Tom Brady is a GOAT. He's the greatest of all time in the NFL. But as far as college, he was a good quarterback. But I don't think you can compare him to JJ. JJ's just on another level, man. When it comes to football,
I'm gonna bring in the man who has JJ and the Jim Harbaugh free Jim Harbaugh shirt on. Michigan Man is calling in.
Hey, man.
Michigan Man, good to have you on Michigan Wolverines Live.
Damn right he the best.
Here we go.
What are we doing here, man? 19-1 is a starter, completing 61% of his drives, doing it against, let's be fair, better competition in Ohio State, better versions of Ohio State that Tom Brady had to play. I mean, come on, man. What are we doing? Dual threat, can beat you with your legs and his arm. He got the athleticism of Drew Henson in the mind of Tom Brady in college. Not in the NFL, don't get me wrong. I'm not talking NFL. He got all of it. Like Jim Harbaugh said, if you could build a quarterback out of all the Michigan quarterbacks in history, it's J.J. McCarthy.
Well, I mean, the athleticism I get because, Tom Brady couldn't do 0 to 60 in a weekend. But as far as like actual quarterback skills, I still take Brady over JJ. I'm sorry.
Why?
What
did Brady do that JJ hasn't done?
I can't put Brady ahead of JJ as far as arm strength and talent. I can't do it.
I think this is just a generational thing because, if you
Well,
ask
go ahead, my bad. Go ahead.
well,
And I love Brady
you
too.
know, Lloyd Carter and the Michigan, they just love Drew Henson with this unrealistic passion that I can't understand because he was this high school. In fact, Drew Henson was probably the highest ranked recruit. It was either him or Rashawn Gary in Michigan's history. And they just fell in love with this dude. And, the realism didn't meet the promise. He fell short of expectations, just like your Tate Forciers and all these other guys, Shea Patterson, that were supposed to do great at Michigan and just laid eggs. And there were I just remember too many times where Drew Henson would just dig Michigan in a hole, and then they'd say, "Okay, Tom, get back in there."
Well,
and get us out of it.
Yeah, well, it's a good thing we're not comparing Tom Brady and Drew Henson. We're comparing Tom Brady and J.J. McCarthy. J.J. Hemmett. All right? Second thing, let's get something straight. Now, I saw a stat today. J.J. leads the country by a country mile in and I'm just going to go third down in long conversions. He's 15 for 16 on third downs of 7 yards or more, and 4 of them are touchdowns.
If JJ can keep this up, if he has stellar games against Penn State and Ohio State again, I'd be willing to concede that he's the best in Michigan history.
Well, Mike Ford, we'll put it like this: what did Tom Brady do that JJ hasn't done?
He's won a New Year's Six game. He beat Alabama in the Orange Bowl.
He beat Alabama in the Orange Bowl. You don't think if JJ, instead of going to the playoffs to play a top 4 team, instead played, I guess Alabama ranked 5th? I think they were ranked 5th that year. No, what were they ranked that year?
Well, you do realize that JJ has played in a top 4 game in a bowl, right?
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying.
He threw back-to-back pick sixes, so strike against him.
Well, okay, how about this? Who's better, 2022 Ohio State or 1999? 2000 Alabama. Who's better? Ohio State Ohio State to me is clearly the better team.
I'd have to go back and look at it.
Well,
in terms of numbers, it ain't close. So we're not even going to debate stats. It's not even close.
I think Ohio State was overhyped last year because if you remember last year, all these Ohio State games were saying our defense is after they fired that crap bag Coombs who couldn't coach himself out of a paper bag. They put in Jim Knowles.
They're not overhyped.
The defense is fixed. You look how great our defense is in, and then we went in there and we just smashed them in the face.
But they're not overhyped, man.
Hold on.
They took Georgia to the wire. They're not overhyped.
George also had a lot of guys out.
You also need to think, though, that JJ's only played 2.5 quarters in all 7 games. So, can you imagine if he played a full game? How many touchdowns he would have?
That's what Brady did. I mean, Brady was not the starter. He was
not
the starter in any year. I mean, he was
but he
freshman sophomore year because we had all these great quarterbacks. He sat behind Brian Greasy for a lot of times. I mean, Brady came into Michigan the 7th quarterback on the roster. 7th.
I would put Harbaugh over Brady. I don't even think Brady's. I would put Harbaugh over Brady.
Maybe if
in terms of
Iowa. If he beat Iowa,
what did Tom Brady just doesn't have a long enough of a career really at Michigan to compete with some of the great Michigan quarterbacks.
Yeah,
he really just has that Alabama win, and he didn't play good when he had he didn't play enough to really be in the conversation, in my opinion.
He's still a good quarterback all time at Michigan, but just the fact that he didn't play enough years, that's what singles him out above the other quarterbacks.
People do forget. Ralph is bringing it up, and some others have brought it up. Tom Harmon from the 38-40 Michigan Wolverines.
He's the only quarterback that won a Heisman for us.
He won a Heisman. Obviously was very versatile, played, halfback. And
didn't he punt too?
It's really hard to compare. That's when we get into like the eras are just so much different. It's not really fair to compare at that point.
Yeah,
that's back when they had leather helmets, man. There's not a lot of good talent back then.
It's true, but we do have a couple of votes for Harmon. Tom Bouchard. And Brian Greasy. Wow, we got a Brian Greasy vote.
Well, if I
all great, all good.
If I could throw Desmond,
I just think
good too.
Well, I just think JJ is just, if you look at the numbers, if you look at the talent alone, he is the most complete quarterback.
Yeah,
he just is.
Man, Corey was ripping on you the other day, saying,
I saw that. They posted that video, man.
Yeah,
First of all, he's like, let's get something straight.
Oh my God.
Well, let's get something straight. JJ is a stud. And when I say he is stud, I'm talking about his play on the field. I don't know where he went with that. He's thinking like that. Maybe he need to revisit.
I was sensing a little bit of jealousy on Corey's part, to be honest. Corey and Mark.
Oh yeah, it was there. It was there for sure. He's thinking. You know what he's thinking? He's thinking, man, we got the leftovers. The leftovers came to our team. The main course is still over there. I wish we didn't get the leftovers.
Oh boy.
I can make a good comparison argument for All in Cortland if Colson Loveland if All was healthy. All was a great tight end. He would have been. I'd have had him.
Yeah, he's out for the season too now. And then him and Kate are both out now for Iowa.
Yeah, it's rough. They do get back Caleb Johnson, but yeah, 11-1 though, still alive. Still alive.
I'm gonna say 10-2 now. I'm gonna say 10-2. I think Rutgers is gonna get him.
I think Rutgers could get him too. I think they could trip up at Lincoln.
Rutgers get who?
Yeah, Nebraska might be a trap there too.
Any team can get Iowa.
Yeah.
Iowa could win any of their games, and they could lose any of their games.
Yeah.
You have to have a good enough offense to beat Iowa, though, because their defense is really good.
Well, the problem is that if there's ever like a blown assignment, or somebody in the secondary misses a read, all you need is one touchdown to beat Iowa. That's pretty much it. If you get 17 points on Iowa, you win, because they're not scoring.
So we have one more caller. We have one more caller, and this is going to be it for calls. But we've got Michigan Ben joining the Voice of College Football Michigan Wolverines Live. Michigan Ben, go blue!
Hey, go blue, guys! I thought this was going to be a relaxing night of me watching you guys talk about Michigan football, and then you guys pulled me in with this JJ McCarthy versus Tom Brady, and I am sorry, I'm 100% with Mike. If you didn't watch Tom Brady bring Michigan back out of multiple games and the way he did it, I said when I watched that when I was younger, I said I would rather have when the chips are down, I would rather have Brady on my team as a quarterback than any other quarterback that I knew at the time. And he has proven it many times. And just that, if you go back and watch these games, man, I'm sorry, but JJ had a chance at TCU to do it. He could have been, we could have been in this conversation, and maybe he will. It's still early, but I would still go with Tom Brady in those games than I would go with JJ right now, because I had more.
Here's how I look at it, though.
Because Tom Brady refused to lose.
Hold up.
Here's how I look at it, though.
Moose, go ahead.
JJ didn't have to come back from behind because he was scoring points more than Tom Brady was.
Well, Brady came in, it wouldn't be a problem
because he was on the bench.
Yeah, they kept throwing Drew Henson in there, and he kept screwing up.
Well, hold on. Let me explain why Tom Brady's actually disqualified from being, in my opinion, because our longevity have won the Big Ten.
Oh, we're
You're
Tom Brady has too short.
No, I get that. I get from a stat standpoint, and I get from I get from, when you look, even, physical capability, JJ's, Tom Brady couldn't run. But I mean, when the chips are down, I'd still pick Brady. If I would take those college players right now, because the throws that he made and the plays that he made, he just didn't lose.
What about you, John? Who would you take? Honestly.
So for me, it's based on what I've seen. I'm gonna go JJ in college.
That's
and
what
the
I think
reason,
too.
and I put my rationale for it is the versatility. Going, I believe it's 18-1 as a starter, which is remarkable. And with Tom Brady, obviously was in that quarterback battle for so long that he was able to flourish at the end. And obviously he had the Orange Bowl, which I thought was an amazing game. But Tom Brady really came into his peak around halfway through his first year at the Patriots.
Yep.
And into the second year at the Patriots is really when he started becoming GOAT status, right? So I think we look at Tom Brady through the lens of the 7 Super Bowls he won.
Right.
Whereas if you just look at his college production, I've got to give it to JJ at this point.
Right. It's not great. I mean, he wasn't bad. He was a good quarterback, but his stats were. You don't look at his stats like, wow.
Oh, yo,
19-1. Sorry.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, you're much better now.
Okay, so what I was saying was I don't even think Tom Brady, because really you're hanging it on. He had more than one comeback win. Don't get me wrong, but we're really hanging this on the Alabama win. He doesn't have a long enough of a career compared to some of the other great Michigan quarterbacks for me to even put him in the conversation. You just can't.
I get that. No, and I get that. I argued this argument with my family, and I got kind of like really criticized back when my sister was a huge Peyton Manning fan, and this was early, and she was saying Peyton Manning's the best quarterback. He's going to be the best. I goes, I don't see it. Actually, I think Tom Brady is actually the best quarterback I have ever saw, and they laughed at me, and they ridiculed me because he was behind Drew Bledsoe at the time. It's like he's not even a starting quarterback, and they kind of laughed at me. And then later on, I got to it was kind of a joke, like we'd play cards, and they make fun of me about it. And it kind of turned out that Tom Brady, and they couldn't laugh at me anymore. So, I mean, I go back from just watching that. And if I compare the college games, so when I look at it, I kind of come from that. But I understand that. I mean, I can understand it. Even the statistics, you can't argue it,
Well, it's not even just statistics. It's also what you've done. He's 19-1 as a starter. He didn't. Tom Brady didn't have a Big Ten championship. JJ has a Big Ten championship as a starter.
I think if Brady played more games and he had established himself more, then I think we could have a very good argument about this. But I think like he was saying, just because Brady didn't have as many games, he wasn't a starter as long as JJ. It's really hard to compare the two.
Yeah, and real quick, I'm not trying to tick off Michigan fans because, I'm not trying to tick us off, but I think C.J. Stroud's got some potential, man, to be one of the best quarterbacks. I'm not trying to bring in Ohio State in it, but to me, I watch him throw the ball, and I'm like, man.
Listen, I agree with you, and I actually think Ohio State fans didn't give C.J. Stroud enough credit. When I watched his passes, he's like a laser beam. And
his accuracy is the best. Might be the best I've ever seen. Exactly. His ball placement might be the best I've ever seen. It's literally always on the money.
I said that too. I thought we could find out if it was, a product of that offense and his receivers. But man, when I watched it, I mean, he just throws dimes all the time. Deep, short, across the 50 yards across the field, it doesn't matter. He's throwing them dimes.
You're gonna see that. Them missing that this weekend versus Penn State. You're gonna see that this weekend when they play Penn State. You're gonna see that drop off.
Well, I think C.J. Stroud is already the best Ohio State quarterback ever in the NFL.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Now,
I think he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks, period.
I mean,
I really believe that.
Could be.
The only argument for the best Ohio State quarterback ever is dead, unfortunately. Unless you're old enough and a big enough fan to remember that, that professional flim flam Art Schlichter.
Only thing about CJ, I will hold against CJ. I don't think he held up in the pressure situations as well as like Tom Brady was a pressure guy. In the NFL.
Well, considering who he plays for, he's doing great.
But yeah.
Did you see the Ohio State quarterback's record in the NFL? Oh my God, it's horrible.
Oh yeah, Ohio State quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, we getting off track real quick. Before I go, I just want to say this: Michigan. Remember, don't let the coach fool you and the player fool you. Michigan remembers what those mofo's from East Lansing did last year. Don't think they ain't going in there looking for blood, man. Looking for blood.
No. Listen, I'll tell you about this game. I'll tell you about the Michigan State game. I'll be glad to get out of there with a win. I'm not looking to whether we're going to be pulling starters in the third quarter or not. I just want to get out of their win because you know what? I've seen Michigan lose to Penn State too many times, and when we should have owned them. And it's just, I just want to win.
Oh, I'm good with just beating. If we beat Penn State by 1, I'm happy.
Yeah, any of those teams, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan State, we just get the win, man. That's all I want.
We got to win convincingly.
Oh no, I'm just excited, man. You're going to see an intensity from this Michigan team on Saturday that you may have never seen. I'm letting you know that right now.
That'll be great. I hope.
I
hope so.
They're going to be slinging it in the fourth quarter. They'll be slinging the rock.
As long as everybody
you really don't look. I'm telling you right now, they know what happened in that tunnel last year.
I doubt anyone.
They know what happened, and they gonna avenge what happened.
Yeah, I hope the bulletin board material has beat Michigan State the way they beat on our players in the on that field. I hope that's some kind of bulletin board material.
So with all that said, a couple of reminders about stuff coming up. Obviously, Saturdays after the game, we ask everybody to head over to Michigan Post Game Live with Dre and myself. Dre has told me he is coming back for sure for this Saturday because he wants to be there after the Michigan State game to hopefully celebrate a dub. And then I'll be back Monday for the Ocho. We did have a Penn State, Ohio State preview with Black Shoe Diaries yesterday, which was actually kind of nice because I could take the night off, which I enjoyed. But I'll be back next Monday for another episode of the Ocho, where it's kind of like this. We have our community and we talk about the Big Ten matchups of the week. So definitely come on by. And then next up on our Voice of College Football must-see TV for Tuesday night, Texas Tuesdays live at 9:30 p.m. Eastern and Oregon Ducks live at 10 p.m. Eastern. So 2 shows coming up next. We're not done here at Voice of College Football. Still got lots more content for you. So what we'll do now is final thought and where can people find you. So we'll start with Mike. You were here first, so we'll give you a first crack at final thought.
You can find me nowhere. I am completely off the grid. Like I said, my goal, for this weekend is just, to win convincingly and everybody stay healthy. I mean,
someone got their TV on.
Was it not me? I just want everybody to be healthy. My concern is that things are going to get too chippy, and it might get a little bit too physical, and it might take some opportunities there when the refs aren't looking. So I look for a solid win, good performances. Everybody gets their touches. Make a statement, and everybody stay healthy.
There you go. All right, Mike, go blue.
Go blue.
All right, Moose, you're up next. Final thought, and where can people find you?
You can find me on Twix, and basically, I just want Michigan to come in on Saturday. I'm hoping for Michigan State not to pull no crap, like try to injure somebody or try no dirty stuff. hopefully Michigan gets in there, handles business, blows them out, does whatever they have to do, get the dub or get out, and handle business like they normally do. No, that's about it, John. Thanks for having me. Go Blue.
Go Blue Moose. All right, Michigan man.
Hey, what's up? Look, man, we gonna terrorize them. We're gonna treat them like the little brothers, the little sisters that they are. We ain't gonna relent. We're not gonna have no injuries, hopefully, but they're gonna be so physical, man. They're gonna want to quit. They might put the practice squad in the second round just to avoid their own injuries, man. By how physical we gonna be. Penn State's gonna win 27-13. Just gonna throw that out there. But yeah, we gonna be relentless. We gonna destroy these boys, and they deserve it. They deserve it for what they did last year, and I can't wait to watch.
You heard it here first. Michigan man predicting that Penn State is going to beat Ohio State as well. So we had a double prediction in there. All right, well, go Blue, and thanks for stopping by, Michigan man.
Well,
And
I'm gonna have
but not least, Michigan Ben.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what, man. Michigan man's got me excited. I hope that's true. Because there's two things that I love to watch in the world. I love to watch Michigan State lose, and I love to watch Ohio State lose. So I'm hoping that's true too. That's what I'm looking forward to. It's gonna be a great great week coming up, and I can't wait. Can't wait, man. It'll be great. And hopefully we'll be on the other side talking about this blowout and just gloating over it next week.
There you go. Well, listen, Michigan Ben, thanks for stopping by, and go Blue, and hopefully we can all celebrate Michigan post game live.
Dependent fanatic, go Blue.
Absolutely. All right, thanks. And with all of that said, I appreciate you, Dependent Fanatic, and everybody who's stopping by, giving support, hitting the like button, commenting, calling in, whatever the case may be, helping support the show every week. I'm going to ask everybody to please next week bring in one or two people, or post the link on your social media, because every time you do that, then it creates that amplification effect. We can all tell each other. We can all kind of bump these shows up. We bring in great media guests every single week. Practically, we've had a really good media guest. So let's continue to spread the word about Michigan Wolverines live at the new time of Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern. Go Blue. Thank you. Go Blue. We got some more Go Blues. Awesome. We love that. So like I said before, coming up next on Voice of College Football, we have Texas Tuesdays live in about 24 minutes. So I'll see y'all over there. And then at 10 p.m. Eastern, we'll have Oregon Ducks live. So back-to-back content for you at the Voice of College Football. And, you don't have to stop hating ND. You don't have to stop hating Notre Dame. We do it all the time. Although, now we've got Will ND, good friend of the show, as well. So it's kind of this, like hate type situation, but definitely from just the Notre Dame as a rival, we can hate him for sure. That doesn't have to go away. With that said, my name is John D'Adamo, and I was your host the last hour. If you do me a favor and follow me on Twix as well, at John D'Adamo, as Moose always likes to call it. If you haven't been following me, I post reminders when the show goes live, as well as takes on college football, as well as other things that jump into my mind. So go ahead and follow me if you haven't already. And with all that said, yes, thank you, Moose. Everybody get the word out, please. It's real easy. I post the link hours ahead of time. Just grab the link and get it all over the internet. Facebook groups, any groups that you're in, LinkedIn groups, I don't care. Carrier pigeon, paint it on the rock. If you're near Ann Arbor, paint the rock. Man, do I miss those days, painting the rock. I'll probably have to go back to another visit to Ann Arbor very, very soon. It's an awesome place. Okay, folks. So I'm going to go head over to our next shows. So please go ahead, and if you haven't hit the like button yet, do that. And I will see you over at Texas Tuesdays. And until next time, it's John D'Adamo saying, go blue. And see you next time.